YouTubers, Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone, and today's topic is crimp your style, and it's all about the crimps that we have on our ammo. Well, what's the reason why crimps are necessary? And the first reason is that the crimp, along with the tension of the neck, holds the bullet in place. And this is all about ammo integrity. Can't have ammo just falling apart on us. Now, the second reason is that crimps allow better functioning and reliability. Whether we're using revolvers or automatic pistols, so whether we're dealing with recoil or the functioning of the slide, we don't want the bullets to be moving around while they're being chambered, so that functioning and reliability are aided by the crimp. Finally, when the round goes off in its internal ballistics, the crimp is important during the ignition phase of the powder burn. So that's why we have crimps. So let's talk about the different type of crimps. And in order to do that, we've got to talk about metallic cartridges and shot shells. So first, metallic cartridges. That's our rifles and our handgun ammo. Well, first of all, no crimp. One type of crimp is no crimp, and that is used by bolt action shooters that single load, and also single shot rifles and single shot pistols. You don't need the crimp because functioning is not a problem. We hand feed the round in. And usually we keep those rounds in a box and they don't get jostled around a lot, so that no crimp will work in that case. But all factory rounds are crimped. And the most popular kind of crimp is called a roll crimp. And what a roll crimp is a deforming of the brass to pinch into the bullet to hold it in place. Now, roll crimps can be on the case mouth, such as this one and that one and this one. In fact, all of these have a roll crimp. And these are all examples of roll crimps on the case mouth. The case mouth is bent in toward the bullet, either in a cantilever in the bullet, or into a crimping groove on a lead bullet, or into a heel section on a rimfire, or a cantilever on a .22 Magnum. So these are roll crimps into crimping grooves or cantilevers. So the 44 Magnum 310 grain bullet is roll crimped, and the Keith 38 172 grain Keith semi-wad cutter is roll crimped. But now you notice the next two rounds are good examples of roll crimps into the case, creating cantilevers in the case. And you'll see the 38 Special there, the third one from the left-hand side, has actually two cantilevers to hold the bullet besides a roll crimp. And the 44 Special is the same way. It's got a roll crimp on the case mouth and also a roll cantilever rolled into the case at the base of the bullet. These hold the bullet in place for better functioning, for ammo integrity, and for powder burn. Now, the other type of crimp that's done for handguns is called taper crimps. And taper crimps are when the case is actually crimped in by a taper, so there's no actual roll on the edge. Now, this is important because semi-automatic pistols and semi-automatic rifles headspace on the end of the case, so that head spacing on the edge of the case mouth, you can't have a roll crimp there, because if you do, you are altering the head space. So semi-automatic pistols, very popular to have taper crimping. And whether we're using, and these are factory here, Whether we're using jacketed bullets or plated lead bullets or lead bullets, the taper crimp is applied so that there's actually a little shoulder of the case mouth sticking out to headspace on. So in metallic cartridges, you have roll crimps, you have taper crimps, and you have no crimps. Now whatever crimp is used, some factories, especially military rounds, a sealer or even cement is put in between the case and the bullet to help the crimp and to help the neck tension, to keep the bullet in place and maintain ammo integrity for the long term. So that's also. Now for our shot shells, there's also the case of the no crimp, but that's rare. It's only used for all brass shot shells where the powder is put in over wads, and then there's an overshot wad, and then this material called water glass, which is silicate, is put in, and that seals the top wad and in place of a crimp. Now reloaders sometimes resort to that when they do replacement slugs, or when they're doing wax slugs, and they'll put some wax on top to close off the top of the shell in place of a crimp. But those are highly specialized rounds. What you're looking at here are 4 factory rounds, and these are what we call fold crimps. So the top of the shell is folded in, either a 6-point like the two left-hand loads, or an 8-point crimp like the third one from the left. And these are fold crimps, folded in by machines. And you'll notice that after the crimp is closed, there's also a little inward tapering of the end of the shell to aid functioning. That's part of the crimp. So once again, we know about crimps being function and reliability. Now the end round is a folded crimp, but they've also added a melting process in the center to seal the crimp. Now these are things that we can't do ourselves as reloaders. However, we as reloaders can do a pretty good job doing 6- and 8-point crimps. As you see here, these are 2 reloads of AA cases, and those are 8-point crimps on the top, and they will rival the quality of factory crimps. So once again, shot shells can have no crimp or a fold crimp. But also, shot shells can have what's called roll crimps. And what roll crimps are, and it's commonly used for slug loads, because the advantage is you can see the slug, and so there's no way to mistake it for a regular shot charge. And that's why the factories like to use roll crimps. And in fact, factory slugs are all proprietary. The wads inside are proprietary. The slugs themselves are proprietary. We can't get a hold of those. Now the roll crimp is applied by a rotating instrument that spins the top edge of the case, the hull down onto itself into a roll. The slug on the right is a sabot slug, and you can see the plastic, the black plastic sabot in there. And we can't load these kind of shot shells ourselves with our reloads. We can make our own slugs, but they are not the same slugs as a factory is used. Once again, they're proprietary wads and proprietary slugs that the factories use. It's hard to match the performance of factory slug loads. Can be done, but it's not easy, and oftentimes we don't quite get there. Now the last round is a buckshot load, and it has a roll crimp with a variation that there's an over buckshot plastic wad there. So another example of a roll crimp. So YouTubers, crimp your style. Whether it's shot shells or whether it's our metallics, crimps are very often placed and very useful, and they serve our ammunition very well. YouTubers out there, take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.